I wanted to address inquiry from the perspective of love today. I think probably in a way that's been a little bit woven in to this cohort, and it's been more explicitly woven in the past. To start with a poem that I just stumbled across this morning, which broke the doors open for a little bit, and then I want to relate it very explicitly to our method and how to look at things, how to inquire in a certain way by breaking down the poem a little bit. And it's very short, but thought it might be a useful way in today. It's by Hafiz, who was, by all means a great lover. And he, as far as I understand him, he used his love of women or the goddess as a kind of stepping stone to the divine. He was just madly in love with women and was one of these kind of pining, deliciously melting men, you know, um, who felt like a connection from personal love up through divine love, and his teacher instructed him in that way. So quite a rare path. But the poem is called A Divine Invitation. I'll read the entirety of it, and then we'll break it down just a little bit and how it might be useful and applicable. A divine invitation. You have been invited to meet the friend. No one can resist a divine invitation. That narrows down all our choices to just two. We can come to God dressed for dancing, or be carried on a stretcher to God's ward. So, one of the, I would say, problems of a poem like this, or it could be problematic for us, if, if we hear that and the heart opens, that's beautiful. If we hear that and it breaks us, that's beautiful. And sometimes, if you're anything like me, you hear a poem like that and you start thinking um, things like, I don't understand what love is, or I don't know what he's talking about, or this sort of way of thinking about awakening is not for me. I don't relate to it in some way. And this was certainly the case for me. And one of the dangers that I want to just unpack with you, I think it is damaging or slows down soul's unfoldment when we try to practice something about love and fail many times, actually. It actually can close the heart down in a way through self-criticism or through an idea that it's supposed to look a certain way, in a way that uh, certainly was the case for me. I became more upset when teachers would tell me things like I needed to be more kind to myself or loving, and that would be good for me. I've often unjokingly said that I wanted to spit in teachers' faces who would say that when I was really suffering a lot, because it was like as if you knew how hard it is in here, and then to tell me I'm not doing it right just makes it harder in here. And so I would try loving kindness practices, but come up sort of um, sweating with failure, and in the end, giving them up in certain ways because they just weren't working for me. And so I just want to say that when it says you have been invited to meet the friend, you may not know what the friend actually is, and it would be better to notice if you have self-criticism about not knowing what the friend is, and set that aside and feel the kind of, it could be an absence of not knowing what the friend is, that could be inquired into. It could be a sadness of feeling disconnected from the friend or not knowing what the connection to the friend is. Or it could be a kind of longing for the friend. And those are better gateways to the friend than self-criticism, actually. Self-criticism is not a gateway to the friend in most cases. So we can take what we have, depending on where we are on this journey with this sort of poem. But the suffering that we experience when we don't know love or think we don't know love is love. It is itself, that longing for something, that the longing for our wish to be closer to the divine, or even to be more empty than we are, if you're sort of from a more Buddhist cosmology. There is a kind of self, there's a kind of desire from the self to be included in something larger that could be enough. And that desire could look like we can come dancing to God, dancing dressed, come to God dressed for dancing. The ecstasy and bliss of wanting to commune or of communing, or be carried out on a stretcher to God's ward. That's a path. That's a viable thing. The trouble with the poem can be it's like it narrows it down to two choices, and we think the first choice is better. But that's just more self-criticism. Or it can lead to that. Okay? So being carried on a stretcher to God's ward is equally a viable way to sort of inquire into what's happening. I've said this before, but I want to convey it again. It's that from um, Hamid or A.H. Almas's perspective, as the inquiry from the diamond approach point of view, which we're greatly influenced by here, is that the inquiry is done in a spirit of wanting to know the truth. I've said this in different ways, many, many times, but from the perspective of wanting to know the truth of something, we we see there is love in that inherently woven in. A kind of, if we take a kind of Hafizian view of his relationship to women, this sort of pining for the beloved, you could say. It's the pining itself, right, is the love or the wanting to know the intricacies and the details of that other heart. Almost like it's like we want to like get the fingers of our soulfulness into the other, to merge with it, to blend with it, to know exactly what it is. We don't want separation. That's inquiry from a certain perspective. It's like it's like we could assume that anything that is happening in us is the friend. And we want to know more about the friend. So we discriminate and we work through the layers to get closer to what we're inquiring into. So it's not just the thing itself. It's the attitude that we're doing that with. It's not just the getting the goodies of what is the true nature of that specific object. It's the inquirer itself that is the friend, also, is the love that wants to know itself through inquiry. The knowing, the knower, and the known, one thing, the loved, the beloved, the loving, one thing. It's one thing, one movement.